What is going on, everybody? You are listening to the latest and greatest edition of Between the Hash Marks. I am Sean McCabe, here with the one and the only James Kokolek. James, how the hell are you, my friend?
I am doing wonderful. It's been a great week in sports.
Oh, yeah, for you.
I couldn't be happier.
Absolutely, for you. Absolutely. We have a completely loaded show. I just want to let you guys know, we are taking the show from twice a week. We're moving it to once a week because the football season, we're in the playoffs now, but the regular season was over. We're mostly a football show. Now there's less football, we have less content, and we want the show to be as good as it possibly can be. We don't want to force doing two a week just to give you two a week when it being crappy content. We want to give you the really good content here. So we're going to be transitioning a little bit into basketball. We're going to be transitioning a little bit into the NHL.
My favorite sport.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because I watch basketball games every day. You don't really watch basketball till the playoffs, and you watch hockey games every day. I don't watch hockey till the playoffs, so that'll definitely be fun to like kind of
go back and forth.
Exactly. But we're both huge baseball fans, so we'll probably be talking a large amount of baseball.
Speaking of baseball, breaking news today, Yu Darvish shuts down the Yankees. Yankees offered him 7 years, $160 million, gave him 48 hours to take it, and he didn't take it. The Yankees pulled the offer. Let's see if something else comes of it.
Good for him. No, but we got a completely loaded show today. And just so you know, during the offseason, we're still going to be discussing football. I mean, football's a year-round sport. There's the draft, there's free agency, there's coaching changes, there's a bunch of different things. Players getting arrested. I mean, players are going to get arrested.
Sheldon Richardson.
Exactly. But we have the national championship game. We have the wild card weekend review. We have the NFL divisional preview. We have some interesting storylines that can completely change one NFL division. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Yeah, that's right. You didn't even know they were a hockey team, I bet. But first, it is time for my opening rant.
Your number one source for sports.
You know who I can't stand? Kevin Durant.
He looks like Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton had a kid.
Now, who can argue with that?
I hate Boston.
I'm the biggest Miami Heat hater you'll ever meet.
I just don't understand where you're getting your bogus information from.
What the hell are you even talking about?
Well, I'm sorry you're too freaking sensitive to handle the truth.
You think I'm crazy? I'm just getting warmed up.
You're now Between the Hash Marks with James Kokolak and Sean McCabe.
A crazy asinine narrative has been sweeping the Los Angeles Lakers since the very beginning of the season. But it has really picked up over the past week, even with a lot more steam, because of what LeVar Ball has said about Luke Walton, who is the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, and how Luke Walton is coaching his son, Lonzo Ball. And this narrative is that the Lakers should trade Lonzo Ball because he is a total bust and not worth the headache because of his obnoxious, overzealous father. And this is a real thing. Go look it up on your Google. There are polls out there. Is Lonzo Ball a bust? This is 35 games into his career, and most of them are about 50-50 or having a slight edge towards Lonzo being a bust. And it's not just these crazy polls on whatever blog you want to look at. Your favorite sports shows on ESPN, Fox Sports 1, your headlines from Bleacher Report, wherever, you name it, there are several personalities throughout the entire TV and radio industry calling him a bust, and there are hundreds of sports writers, especially in Los Angeles and Southern California, demanding him to be traded. Okay. So did anyone watch last night's game where the Lakers beat the Spurs by 12 points? Yeah, I didn't think so. The Lakers are now 3-1 since Lonzo Ball has come back from injury. They were 0-6 without him. Now, don't think I'm crazy here. I know if the Spurs and the Lakers played in a 7-game series, the Lakers would be absolutely lucky to win one game out of that series. But that's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is Lonzo Ball is the real deal. He went for 18 points last night, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals. Brandon Ingram is a better player with Lonzo Ball playing. Kyle Kuzma, the other rookie for the Lakers, plays way better with Lonzo playing. Over the past 6 games where Lonzo hasn't played, Kuzma's numbers all down. Can Lonzo shoot the ball? No pun intended. No, not really. But that's not what he is. We knew that coming out of college, that he couldn't shoot worth a damn. but he is a culture changer. He gets his playmakers the ball. He's also the Lakers' best defensive player. He has a knack for finding the ball anytime throughout the game. Amongst point guards in the NBA, he is 3rd in rebounding, 5th in assists, 7th in steals, 3rd in blocked shots, and 6th in double-doubles. Let's play a little game here. Let's compare Lonzo Ball's first 35 games to LeBron James's first 35 games. Not calling him LeBron James, but Lonzo Ball's team better win-loss record right now than the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2003 through LeBron's first 35 games. Lonzo also has a better three-point percentage than LeBron did, more assists per game, more rebounds per game, and a better assist-to-turnover ratio. Let's play another little game. First 35 games, Lonzo Ball, Jason Kidd. Lonzo Ball, way better three-point shooting percentage. Jason Kidd, one of the best three-point shooters of all time. He's 9th all-time in three-pointers made. Lonzo Ball shooting 30% from three-point range this year. Jason Kidd, first 35 games, shooting 18%. All right? Lonzo Ball, more rebounds per game first 35 than Jason Kidd. More blocks per game, more points per game, less turnovers per game, less assists per game, but better assist to turnover ratio. Let's stop becoming mindless emotional dogs who are being force-fed this bile nonsense by the media, and let's look at the numbers. They do not lie, not at all. Nobody is calling Lonzo Ball LeBron James, but the numbers, they just don't lie. If LeVar Ball wasn't such a loudmouth, we would be saying Lonzo is the next Jason Kidd. Why don't people understand this, James?
Well, no pun intended. I love that, by the way. It's not that he's a bust. He's a difference maker. When he's on the court, he's more of a floor general. He's not going to put up a lot of points, although his career high is 29 already through 39 games. It's hard to score 29 points in an NBA game.
Absolutely.
He's got 13 assists twice in a game before as a career high and 16 rebounds. No guy that's going to be a bust in the NBA is going to put up these types of numbers in any single game through the first 35 games of his career. He's a young guy still, too. He's younger than 20 years old. And he's more of he reminds me of Rajon Rondo. He's a great rebounder. He's a great defender. He's a great assist man, but he's not the best shooter. And it reminds me of Rondo's young years in Boston. And what did that lead Boston to? I know they had a lot of great players on that team, but he was part of it. And where did they go? They ended up winning a championship. Correct. The Lakers are young here. They are a young team, and they've got such a bright future. There's no way you can call Lonzo a bust through 35 games. You just can't do it.
I just don't understand why people are saying, oh, the Lakers need to get rid of him. I understand LeVar Ball is a headache, but it seems like when LeVar Ball ends up doing something like this, Lonzo ends up actually playing better when he's getting pressure from his dad. It's funny. It's like you grow up, like if you grow up in the city and you hear all the noise of the street lights and the honking and the horns and everything, and then you go out to the middle of the wilderness and you can't sleep worth a damn because of all these crickets. You need the noise, and I feel like Lonzo is the kind of guy, he needs the noise.
Well, the one thing that pisses me off about Lonzo is his dad. I cannot stand LeVar Ball. I can't stand the guy. The Lakers should ban him from the Staples Center. He should watch his kid on TV and keep his mouth shut. Twitter should ban him from Twitter. I mean, Facebook should delete his profile. Just get this guy off social media. Get him off the news. Get him off ESPN. Take him off TV, the radio, everything. Nobody wants to hear from LeVar Ball. We want to hear from Lonzo Ball. Not only do we want to hear interviews from him, but we want to hear him speak for himself on the court. That's what Lonzo's going to be remembered for. Or that's what he should be remembered for. And right now, when you think of Lonzo Ball, what do you think of? I think of LeVar.
Yeah, you think of LeVar.
And that shouldn't be. And I think that LeVar needs to shut the hell up. And I think he's putting too much pressure on his kid, which is leading to these polls. Is he a bust? Is he not? Because his dad has put such high standards to him. And I understand you want to be proud of your kid. You want your kid to do really well. But let him do it on his own.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm a little surprised, too, that Lonzo didn't come out and say, hey, my dad, he's going to be my dad. He's going to say what he's going to say. There's no changing in what he says. But he didn't come to the rescue of his coach or anything like that. And really, nobody from the Lakers organization stood behind Luke Walton when LeVar Ball is making these comments. And I think that's a mistake. And that even if LeVar Ball is right, where Luke Walton is not the best coach for the Lakers, that doesn't mean anything at all, because the Lakers should still put up the front that, hey, we care about Luke Walton. He's our guy for right now. Even if he's really not, even if they do plan on replacing him, they should still stand behind that guy, their guy, and give off the perception that, hey, we don't care about what LeVar says. This is where we are as a team.
It would be a huge mistake to get rid of Luke Walton right now. They're a young team, and nobody expected them to win a lot of games this year.
No.
They have so many rookies and young players. And what did Luke Walton do as an interim head coach with the Warriors? Now, I know the Warriors are stacked, but Durant's not making shots unless you're putting Durant in the right positions to make shots. Steph Curry is a great ball handler, but a lot of his three-pointers come off pick and rolls or catch and shoots. He's not dribbling up the court 90 times a game and taking threes. I mean, his coach is putting him in these positions, and that's what Luke Walton did. And Luke Walton got off to a better start than most people expected. How many games did they lose last year in the first 41 games?
Yeah.
Was it like 3? I mean, I think it would be a huge mistake to let go of Luke Walton. I think he's good for young players. I think he's good for Lonzo's career. And Lonzo, I believe his shooting will get better, but that's something that he... You know, no offense, Lonzo, but you are an NBA player and you're a point guard, and you need to get into the gym and work on your shot.
But I think he will, because I mean, if you look at the numbers of at least develop some sort of 3-point game, not really the mid-range game you don't really need as an NBA player now, but if he can develop a nice 3-point game, which I think he will. I mean, he has a better 3-point percentage right now than, by a couple points, than LeBron James, and LeBron James has really but he's really crafted his 3-point ability, and he's able to hit 3-pointers at the same level of, like, you would expect high-level 3-point shooters in the league. And he has a better 3-point percentage than Jason Kidd, who I mentioned, and Jason Kidd, 9th all-time in 3-pointers ever made.
And Jason Kidd is an all-time great.
I mean, he's not a Hall of Famer now, but you would have to think he would be a Hall of Famer. Yeah, so I just don't understand why. I mean, I understand why people dislike Lonzo so much, and it's because of his father, but let's stop letting the emotions of everything affect how we think, when if you just look at how Lonzo has actually played the game of basketball, he's actually doing a lot of good things. No, he's not scoring a ridiculous amount, but we never expected him to be a scorer, especially his first year.
No, I mean, he's pretty ugly, I'm not gonna lie, but he coming out of college, he was known as a playmaker, not a shooter, and those numbers reflect it. So yes, he's averaging 10.2 points per game, but he's averaging 7.1 rebounds and 7.1 assists.
Exactly.
So almost a triple-double per game,
almost. On
average. How could you call this guy bust?
Yeah, through the first 35 games, and he's already has a couple triple-doubles.
He's got 2 triple-doubles on the year, and you know, I give Lonzo praise for dealing with his father, dealing with the pressure of being a high pick, and the ceiling that his dad put on his career.
Yeah, no, it's just like I was saying before, like, I think he does better with that noise, because when things are seemingly quiet, he doesn't play it as well, and then it's when LeVar starts chirping, that's when he ends up putting his money where his dad's mouth is.
But he's going to fit perfectly in LA then, because the noise is going to be very noisy for most of his career in LA, and it would be in Chicago, Philadelphia, and New York. Maybe not many other cities than that, but he's in one of those cities.
Coming up next, we have the NFL. We have the national championship game, and down the road, we got some hockey talk for you. You're listening to BTH.
You're listening to Between the Hash Marks with James Koklak and Sean McCabe, brought to you by an unknown sponsor we don't have yet. Now back to the show.
And welcome back to BTH. And the conclusion we just came to about Lonzo Ball is that he's not a bust.
Yeah, everybody's stupid except for us.
Yeah, pretty much. But you definitely have to improve your shooting. If you improve your shooting, you could be on path to being an all-time great. You're putting up pretty good numbers as of now, and you're only 19 years old, you know, so. But my favorite topic of the day.
All right, let's go into it.
The national championship game for college football.
Let me be one of the first to congratulate you.
Heart was pounding, sweating immensely, sitting on the edge of my seat, pulling my hair out, biting my fingernails. I mean, the whole 9 yards.
So I'm just going to go into a couple questions here that I must ask you, and answer them as honestly as you can. Do you think the Alabama Crimson Tide would have won if Saban doesn't make the switch at quarterback? Why not?
No, they wouldn't have won.
Why?
Because Hurts couldn't get the ball. He was 3 for 8 for 21 yards in the first half. He had the big run. He had like 44 rushing yards on the day, and I think most of it came on a 41-yard run or a 38-yard run in the second quarter. But they could play 8-9 people in the box and just have 2 people outside and maybe 1 safety back and have the other safety coming up into the box and stop the run. And that's what, and Alabama wasn't changing their format. They're just running because Hurts couldn't get the ball off. So no, to answer your question, as a fan, they're not winning this game if they don't make the change at halftime. I wanted them to make the change. I couldn't believe Saban made the change only because of Hurts' numbers over the course of the season and over the course of his career.
Well, yeah, that's why I think I generally agree that they would not have won the game if Saban didn't make the switch. I would say I'd put it at like 25% where they still would have had the chance of winning, simply because of Hurts' ability, where he is a game changer and he has overcome so many obstacles in certain games. I mean, if you look at that Clemson game last year, where what he had to do to overcome, and he put his team in a position to win that game.
Yes, he did.
Obviously, it didn't happen, but so I think because he is that kind of playmaker, I would say that there's about a 25% chance. But Georgia knew what they were going to be doing that entire first half.
Well, going back to last year, you got to tip your cap to Clemson. Alabama had the late touchdown. They come down and score with, I think it was 1 second left on the clock.
Yeah.
Tip your hat to Deshaun Watson. He showed how good he is in the NFL this year. So, I mean, if he can do that in the NFL, of course he can do that against Alabama, and he did. So you got to tip your cap. And moving back to this year, I mean, Georgia knew exactly what they needed to do, and it worked. They were up 13-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
One thing I can say for sure is Alabama needs a new kicker.
Well, and it's funny you bring up 13-0 because I didn't think they were going to score that touchdown they did before halftime, and I was like, I was saying to my roommate, they're gonna really regret kicking a field goal here, and it turns out they had another drive in the red zone earlier where I also was thinking, they're gonna regret kicking a field goal here, and eventually it did. But I mean, I thought getting that 1 touchdown was super key, and I didn't count Alabama out. Obviously you can't do that, but I was just thinking, wow, that touchdown's a huge momentum swing. Question for you here, another question. You got to pick one. Who do you give more credit to? Saban for making the call to switch quarterbacks, or Tua for having 3 touchdowns and winning the game for Alabama as a 18-year-old kid? And you can't say both. You got to pick one.
Okay, I'm going to go with Saban for the sole purpose of you're putting in an 18-year-old kid. He has not played in big games. He played in mop-up duty. You've seen, and the reason I go him over Tua Tagovailoa is because this is what Tua does. I mean, you're putting him out there. All his mindset has to be is, I'm going to go out there and play football. Now, Saban, on the other hand, you have to hope that he's going to go out there and play football. You got to hope you're taking out a quarterback who's 25-2 in his Alabama career. His 2 losses are to Clemson last year in the national championship game and Auburn this year. Only 2 losses. I think he had 18 touchdowns to 1 interception this year. You're taking out somebody who's not only clutch, but who has gotten the job done for majority of his career. And if Alabama's defense is not on the field for 99 plays last year, they're winning that national championship game as it came down to 1 play. So tip my cap to Saban for taking out a starter like Hurts, who everybody has praised, and putting in not only a redshirt freshman, a true freshman, 18 years old, to come in and light it up. Yeah,
and I want to also give credit to Saban to sticking with Tua, because he made that interception early. He looked good, but then he threw that interception. It's like, this could be really bad for Alabama.
Oh, that same thought was going through my head. I was like, oh no.
All right, next question. Going into the overtime, guy with super long last name, I don't know what it is, misses chip shot field goal.
Papanastis.
Yeah, misses chip shot field goal like by a mile. Yeah, like you could have put me out there. I would have drilled that kick for you.
30,
I promise you that.
30-yard field goal, roughly an extra point.
That's about my range too. I can hit those 30-yarders. You wouldn't believe it.
In that big time moment though?
Oh, absolutely. You don't swing with all your power in that moment. You just chip it right in there. The announcers were even saying it, and it's obvious. And I definitely could have made that kick. But going into the overtime, what were your thoughts as an Alabama fan after that missed field goal?
After the missed field goal, I was a little bit nervous. As soon as the coin toss happened, I knew Alabama was going to get the ball second. I knew their defense was fired up, and with Alabama's defense being fired up, they're a huge. That not only are they fantastic to begin with, but that gives them a boost. They are clearly the best defense in the nation, and I knew that they would be up to the task. I had a feeling that they would hold Georgia to a field goal as long as Alabama could score a touchdown. I thought that we would win. I thought it would play out the way it did, just not the way it did, if that makes sense. I did not think Alabama would take a 16-yard sack.
Okay.
I thought they would run the ball and run the ball and run the ball.
Yeah, so take me through the swing of emotions from Georgia losing all those yards to having the super high to Georgia hitting the 51-yard field goal. Now it's like, uh-oh. Now if we have to kick a field goal, we can't even hit a 20-yarder. To taking that sack to very next play, game's over. I was watching that just like, oh my god, oh my god. Like, what could have that been for you?
It kind of reminded me of the Super Bowl last year, just that type of game. Two top football games I've ever seen in my life. Super Bowl between the Patriots and the Falcons, and Alabama versus Georgia. Those are the two best football games I've ever seen. And the highs and lows were crazy. Going from seeing that sack, I was like, oh man, they're gonna miss this field goal. This is big time pressure. 51 yards. That's tough for an NFL kicker to hit in this type of situation.
It was
let alone
perfect.
College. And it was perfect. Absolutely perfect. This guy's going to be an NFL pro kicker.
Oh, absolutely.
He's really
absolutely.
good. I love the mustache and the glasses he wears.
Oh, yeah, the glasses
looks
make
like
him
a
stand out.
Terminator.
Yeah, that's right.
But then, I knew once that happened, I was like, all right, Alabama, they got 4 great running backs. All they have to do is run the ball. At the very minimum, this could be a tie game as long as they can get the ball on like the 2-yard line because always kicker might miss it. But I did not. Once that 16-yard sack came, I'm like, oh God, I was sick to my stomach. I was like, this is the game. And literally, I didn't even see the ball get hiked on the next play.
Yeah, they went quick.
Because I was so upset that they got sacked. And then I just see the ball in the air. And as soon as he stepped foot in the end zone, I jumped up. I'm screaming, Roll Tide, at the top of my lungs at 1 o'clock in the morning, waking everybody up in my house. It was great. It was highs and lows. But that's what sports is. That's why sports are great.
Yeah.
Because of the highs and lows. You go from being super excited to literally wanting to put your head through a wall in a split second to being super excited again.
Yeah.
And that's why I love sports.
Yeah, all right, final question. If I had told you going into this game that you would give up 23 points, Jalen Hurts would not finish the game, and you missed 2 easy field goals, do you like your give me a percentage on Alabama's chances of winning this game if you knew these factors were going to happen?
I can tell you probably roughly 15% chance I probably would have just been sleeping instead of watching the game. And the only way we're winning that game is if we have some defensive touchdowns. Which, a quick little stat here, Alabama only had 2 non-offensive touchdowns this year. Last year they had 15.
Wow.
That's a huge drop.
Wow.
That's a huge drop.
That is crazy.
And they still won the national championship. And another little crazy thing is Alabama was their defense was on the field 50 plays in the first half.
God, they couldn't get off the field.
No, and that was the problem. Their defense was tired. I was like, this is another Clemson, Alabama. They can't get off the field. They can't stay on the field for offense. Defense is on the field constantly. They're tired. If this continues, we're losing this game because the defense is. It's not that they can't win. Their defense is just too tired to win. And a funny story I was going to tell you about earlier, I said I was going to save it for the air. Minkah Fitzpatrick, maybe the best college football player in the nation right now, besides Saquon Barkley. He actually missed the game-winning touchdown. He was in the porta potty going to the bathroom, and he knew it was a touchdown by the crowd noise on which side it came from because he knew where the Georgia fans were and he knew where the Alabama fans were, and he heard the Alabama fans on that side of the stadium, and he knew they won even though he was in the porta potty going to the bathroom at that exact moment they won. So his last college play, he wasn't on the field for it, but his last college play, the last seconds of his college career were spent in a porta potty.
That's insane. Now, I want to just get into this a little bit. How much of a damper must this be if you are an Atlanta Falcons Georgia Bulldog fan? Could you even imagine what that would be like? They lose both games, and games they should have won. I would say Georgia should have won that game. I would say Atlanta should have won that game.
Yeah.
And I mean, how could you go to work the next day knowing that this is what your life is like?
So, something I should say is that anybody who's moving to Georgia, it should be a required law required for them to learn CPR, because everybody in Georgia is known to choke. So, but you know what? It's something that really impresses me. We talked about how dominant the Georgia run game was against Oklahoma. And yes, Sony Michel, he ran for 97 yards. Hats off to him. Or 98 yards on 14 carries, 7 yards average. That's unheard of against an Alabama defense.
Yeah.
But combined on the ground, Georgia had 133 rushing yards. That is nowhere close to what they did against Oklahoma. And I remember saying last week that if Georgia's going to win this game, they have to run the ball as well as they did against Oklahoma. And their best running back, Nick Chubb, did not do anything. He was shut down completely.
Yeah, no, he was not a factor at all. If anything, it was Michelle and the other guy, the little scat back they have coming out of the back.
True freshman.
Yeah, and I thought he would be an impact because Alabama would be focusing on Chubb and Michelle, and they would forget about him. Well, he's kind of like the Darren Sproles of that offense, if you will. But they were able to contain him in the second half, and it looked to me like Georgia, in the third quarter, I thought they were playing fine, but they were playing too conservative. I thought in the fourth quarter, they're trying to run the clock out with like 12 minutes left in the game, and it's like, you guys should just maintain your offense. And I understand you're up 20-7 now at this point. Same thing as 13-0 really. But you really need to, keep playing this game like you could be losing, and they just didn't, because Fromm played well in like the first 3 quarters of that game, and I was really impressed with how he did play.
And I was and I was also surprised. I was impressed, but I was surprised that I remember.
He's a true freshman, isn't he?
Yes, well, that's getting to my next point. Is Fromm, true freshman. Riley Ridley, that's not his real name. He changed his name because I think it was like Kelvin instead of Calvin.
Yeah, it's too close to Calvin.
So they had mentioned it during the broadcast. He had the most receiving yards for Georgia, true freshman. So 2 true freshmen on Georgia.
Yeah, and he didn't even really play that much in the regular season.
No, and then he
outshined his brother.
Yeah, Calvin, who's the number 1 receiver, could go in the top 10 in the NFL draft this year.
Absolutely.
And then Tua Tagovailoa and Najee Harris, the number 1 recruit from 2017 in all of college football. He landed with Alabama, running back, a true freshman. He went for six rushes for 64 yards. He led the team in rushing yards that game. So true freshman. This game was all about true freshmen, and it's pretty impressive because not that it's impressive, but it's cool because we're seeing these teams may not be in the championship next year, but we have so much young talent in college football that has stood out, that we have so many good years ahead of us. Even though there's so much talent is going to be lost to the NFL draft this year, they have got such good classes coming in.
Absolutely. Do you have anything else that you want to mention for this game?
So what really impressed me, though, going back to what I was saying, is the confidence that Georgia had. Their play calling for Jake Fromm. I remember Alabama pinned them in the own 5. J.K. Scott, he's not going to be the punter next year, but he's clearly the best punter in college football. He's going to be a stud punter in the NFL. He'll be probably one of the punter who gets drafted. Not many do get drafted. I remember they're inside their own 5, and they started off with a throw. From a true freshman, you're inside your own 5.
Yeah, this
you
is
got
the second quarter.
No,
or this is the first quarter.
No, this is later in the game.
Oh, later in the game. Okay,
this is they still got the lead, and I remember thinking to myself, okay, they're just going to run the ball 3 times. Alabama's going to get the ball back with good field position. This is a good thing for us. Where it's a game of field position at this point.
Yeah.
And first play was a pass, and it was third quarter, and I was blown away by it. I was very impressed by Georgia's confidence in the play calling, and as an Alabama fan, I was scared because of it. It had me nervous because you're expecting them. NFL teams are going to run the ball 3 times most likely there, and you're putting an 18-year-old kid the ball in his hand to throw it with the lead in a national championship game. That shows guts, it shows confidence, and tip my hat to Georgia for that.
All right, cool. Yeah, crazy national championship game. It'll go down as one of the best college national championship games in the history. I wouldn't say best game ever. I think I would put the USC Texas game ahead of that. But I off the top of my head, I have to say best top 5.
Oh, it's up there. It could be number 2. That USC Texas could be hard to beat.
Yeah, exactly.
But this game,
because I think that game had the same kind of drama, but it was more scoring.
Yes.
So that's why I would give it a little
higher scoring.
Yeah, a slight edge. But going into the NFL wild card review, I just want to let you know that you went 1-3 in your picks. This is straight up. We didn't even do against the spread, and I went 3-1. One game I did lose. We both lost. Was Kansas City to the Titans. And all right, how do you blow an 18-point lead at home when you are a 9.5-point favorite going into it?
I can tell you right now.
Go ahead.
Because you know that big playbook that Andy Reid's carrying around?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the KFC menu on the side that he's looking at. So he's not even looking at
that's what it is.
He's looking at what he's going to eat.
He wants the $20 bucket.
Yeah, no, probably. I don't know how Andy Reid still has a job.
Yeah, no, it's all right. So how much is he on the hot seat right now? Because he's a fantastic regular season coach, but he is, I think there have been 4 games where teams have blown 18-point leads in the playoffs. 2 of them are by Andy Reid. 2 of them are by every other coach in NFL history.
Yeah, and I believe they're both with the Chiefs over the last 5 years.
Yes, both were the Chiefs.
So Andy Reid.
Yeah, because the other one was with the Col- against the Colts.
Yes, he needs to be on the hot seat. He's a great regular season coach, but he just can't get it done in the playoffs. And that goes back to even with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, because you would say, I mean, his real only success was that year where they lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl, but that was a game, I mean, the game was close, but Terrell Owens balled out on a broken knee, and really that game was the score was a lot closer than the actual game, in my opinion. But yeah, he just really hasn't had that success in the playoffs at all. And it's weird because Alex Smith in the playoffs, his last 3 games of the Chiefs, I believe he has 15 touchdowns to 2 or 3 interceptions in those 3 losses. And they 0-3 in those games. 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. You would think, wow, this quarterback is really good. This team's having a lot of success. And they have playmakers: Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. I know Kelce got hurt. But Kelce getting hurt, you can't. I mean, they blew an 18-point lead. They missed a couple field goals, or at least 1 field goal. And I know the Mariota play is a freak thing, and an absolutely insane, magical play, and it changes the whole game.
Oh, absolutely.
And also, I want to say the refs did blow a call where I think Justin Houston laid out Mariota, and Mariota fumbled, but they ruled the play dead, and you can see the Kansas City guy pick up the ball, and he has daylight, and that would have been a touchdown. But you can't blame all, like, there's a couple of things here, but you can't blame that
for blowing it. You had the lead, you had the game in your hand,
an 18-point lead at home.
Yeah, no, there's no excuse for it. I will say that Travis Kelce getting hurt killed their momentum offensively.
It definitely did, because there were a couple drives where it was like 3rd and 6. Alex Smith throws it to the backup tight end, dropped. Okay, Kelce catches that ball, drive continues, game plays out different.
And Kelce had a couple big catches before he got hurt.
Yeah.
And so he's their difference maker. I know Tyreek Hill is good. He's more of that over the top. He's going to score a touchdown if he can get open, but he's not that difference maker going across the middle like Travis Kelce is.
Agreed.
Travis Kelce's a big body. He can take a hit and still run. He reminds me of a Gronk. So I think that hurt, but still, there's no excuse for that. And Derrick Henry went off in the second half. 156 yards and a touchdown.
And I want to give some credit to Mike Mularkey, because I'm not a huge fan of his at all, but he stuck with the game plan. And it's kind of like how Georgia stuck with the game plan against Oklahoma of not freaking out that you're down by so much. Continue with running the ball, ground and pound, stick to who you are, and it worked out. And I want to give credit to Mike Mularkey, who I think is a terrible coach, but he outcoached Andy Reid. Which,
quick question about the Titans:
okay.
Is DeMarco Murray back next year? Is Derrick Henry the starter?
I couldn't imagine a world unless DeMarco Murray takes a pay cut that he's going to be a Tennessee Titan. I mean, there's no need for it to happen. They can just go draft a running back in like the 5th or 6th round and have him be a reliable backup. And it's Derrick Henry's team now. This is the kind of offense where Derrick Henry is going to thrive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think it helps Mariota too.
Absolutely.
Because Mariota now can have that. Not that DeMarco Murray's bad. I just think he's over the hill at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
So Derrick Henry is like the old DeMarco Murray. He can run downhill. He can bang bodies. And if he's doing that opens up lanes for Mariota to pull back and run with the ball. It opens up for him to throw the ball. And that freak, I think he's the only player in NFL history to have his first postseason touchdown pass B's also his first postseason touchdown reception.
Yeah.
I
know one other quarterback did it. I know Brad Johnson did it for the Buccaneers.
Was it his first touchdown
No,
pass?
it wasn't his first one, but I think that's the only one who's ever done it in a playoff game.
It's just insane. And I went and looked at the fantasy. I had Mariota in DraftKings.
Yeah.
And it gave you points for both.
Yeah,
It was 10 points, 6 for the touchdown catch, 4 for the pass.
That's nuts. All right, moving on to the next game. I don't have much on it. Bills Jags. I was sweating like a dog the entire game, but it's kind of how I expected things to go. I saw Jags. They were 10-point favorite. I was like, no way they're gonna win this game by 10 points. I do want to say Bortles was worse than I thought he was going to be. There were some statistics on him playing well at home, playing terribly on the road. This is a home game. Okay, I think you're gonna play all right. He did adjust in the second half. I thought he played a lot better in the second half. He did throw the touchdown. He ran for most of his yards in that second half. And I think the big key to this game was the Jacksonville defense was able to stop the run. McCoy only averaged 3.9 yards per carry. Tyrod Taylor only averaged 3.9 yards per carry. If you're averaging 3.9 yards per carry, and I mean they couldn't throw the ball worth a damn against Jacksonville at all. He threw a pick. Peterman threw a pick. That's why the Jags ended up winning this game. I don't really have much more to say.
Peterman had 4 snaps.
Yeah.
Interception.
Yep.
Bobbled snap.
Yep.
A fumble. And
He
something else.
did have one completion. I know that.
So it was the one completion. He had a fumble.
Yeah.
He had an interception, and he had a bobbled snap. And for 4 plays, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But what I got for that game is that the Jags defense is just suffocating.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so good. Jalen Ramsey is on his way to being the best cornerback in the league by far.
I think right now he's rated 3rd amongst quarterbacks.
He kind of reminds me of Richard Sherman, just that the tenacity that he plays with.
Yeah, I mean he's got the mouth and he puts his money where his mouth is.
He's not like Revis was good, but Revis was never a talker.
No, he wasn't.
He didn't come out and say things like Sherman did. So that kind of reminds me. But you know what? We're going to talk about this moving forward. But Bortles only had 87 pass yards. He had 88 rush yards. It's a career high for him. I believe.
And he is the second quarterback to have more rushing yards than passing yards in a playoff win. Can you name the other one?
Michael Vick.
There you go.
Yep. But seriously, I mean, Bortles 87 pass yards. That is atrocious.
Yeah.
and something that and also I think this game could have been different. I know that the Bills got a field goal here, but they're inside the 5. I mean, Jacksonville takes the penalty, gives them 1st and goal on the 1.
That was a terrible penalty, but yeah, they did take that penalty.
It was the weirdest sequence I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was like you thought the Bills were going to score a touchdown. Then now it's 4th and goal, 4th and goal.
It was 3rd and goal, and they have a pass interference. Now it's 1st and goal again, and then Kelvin Benjamin has a offensive pass interference, gets backed up 10 yards, and it's like, oh my god.
Well, that's a huge missed opportunity because I think if this game's 10-7, the Bills, I'm sure they could have gotten into the point where they could kick a field goal rather than exactly. You only have to go half the field for a field goal rather than the whole field for a touchdown. That was the biggest difference maker, in my opinion, during that game. That changed the game right there, not scoring a touchdown. So, but this game clearly was the worst game of the games this weekend.
Agreed. All right, moving on to the next game, Carolina and New Orleans. I don't really have too much on this. I know Carolina, they fired their offensive coordinator Mike Shula and quarterback coach Kent Dorsey after the game, and they hired Norv Turner. Do you think this has any of? I don't think this solves any problems that they had. I didn't think their offense really was the problem. It's Cam Newton at times. That's a Cam Newton thing, not a whoever's Cam Newton's coach thing.
Took the words right out of my mouth. It has nothing to do with the coach. Just Cam Newton's inconsistent.
Cam's either going to be great or he's going to be Cam.
Yeah, pretty much. And if he could be great, he could be the best quarterback in the league. Just frame size, arm strength, his accuracy is the only really, bad mark on his resume. But it's funny that the Saints, the Carolina's up for sale now, and they actually have a new owner. It's the New Orleans Saints. So the Saints own the Panthers
3 times this year.
3-0 against them this year. The Saints are unbeatable if everything's flowing. Between Drew Brees, their run game was not even good this week.
Nope.
I mean, they had 41 rushing yards. But Carolina's third against the run, so everybody take a chill pill. Brees was 23 for 33 for 376 yards.
He's been amazing. He's having that that I'm going to ride off into the sunset kind of year right here, and I don't know, it just seems like everything's lining up perfectly for the New Orleans Saints.
Although they got the toughest test this weekend. So.
Absolutely. But just going back to the offensive coordinator firing, to me, it doesn't address any of the problems that Carolina has. I feel like we said, we addressed about Cam, but Christian McCaffrey, he was good, but not great this year. But those are things that he needs to work on as just being a rookie into a second year. And I think he will fix those things.
He had that nice run, or I believe it might have been a screen.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful play.
Yeah, but to me, it just feels like all right, you know how when you buy a house and it's a fixer-upper and it has like a bunch of plumbing issues, a bunch of just everything's freaking wrong with it. So you decide to like paint the bathroom because that makes it look nicer, and it's like that's not fixing anything really significant in the house, at all.
I agree with that, and they shot themselves in the foot. They could have won this game.
Absolutely, and I was impressed with how they were able to take advantage in New Orleans of just third down situations, and I believe they were something like 60% for that game on third down, which gives me a little bit of concern about New Orleans going forward. Do you have anything else from this game?
No, not really. I'm definitely ready to move forward to the Rams-Falcons. This was, I thought, the best game of the weekend.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
The Rams looked overwhelmed, though. I mean, but it's inexperience. They're a young team. Sean McVay's a young coach. They're inexperienced. This is a building block for them. They're not going nowhere.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. The reason why I liked the Falcons in this game originally, and I thankfully I put the money where my mouth was. It ended up working out pretty well, but I just didn't think that. I think the Falcons they've been truly battle tested since about like week 8 this year. They've been playing winner take all games
pretty much
since then. Not to mention having they didn't really have a Super Bowl hangover. I know people are like, oh, they had a Super Bowl hangover, but their yards per play have still been the same as last year's Super Bowl team, and they have all this experience from last year in the playoffs. And I think that Super Bowl loss is really affecting them, and they're super motivated about it. Not to mention, Jared Goff, he's been playing really well this year, but when you force him to throw the ball, I don't know the stats for this past game, but I know this past season, in situations where the Rams were down by 4, or between 1 and, or it was between 4 and 7, I think it was. So it's a situation where Jared Goff has to throw the football, and the defense is playing tough. The defense can't give up a touchdown, so it's not just a field goal, so they can't just run it. So it's in these situations where Goff has to be the playmaker here. He was only 13 for 30 throughout the entire year of this past season in those situations, and I didn't like that. I didn't feel comfortable about that, and I felt like you saw it when Atlanta scored that final touchdown, and now they're down. It's by more than that margin, but Jared Goff is in a situation where he has to throw the ball, and you can't rely on Todd Gurley. I think they were exposed there.
Yeah, well, they were definitely exposed in this game, and I think a lot of it has to do with experience. Everything goes back to experience for me. That Matt Ryan has been in this situation before.
Yeah.
Julio Jones has been in this situation before. The Falcons as a whole have been in this situation before, and they know what to do. Now, next time, if this game is played next year, playoffs, I'm still taking the Rams again. I know I took them this year. I knew it would be a long shot, but I wanted to see them win. It was kind of really
a long shot. They were the favorite.
Well, but in reality, I picked them. I kind of figured they were going to lose just because of the inexperience.
Okay.
It's just.
Well, you didn't say it last week.
We'll talk about that moving forward into the NHL next topic, because that'll kind of go hand in hand. But I think the biggest thing here was Julio Jones. He didn't have a touchdown, but he had 9 catches.
No, he did have a touchdown.
He did.
Yeah,
okay.
that play where Matt Ryan was like falling down and he throws it to the front
Yes. You're right.
That was an insane throw by Matt Ryan.
You're right, and he had 9 catches for 90+ yards.
Yeah.
That's a big time game.
Yeah.
Touchdown or not, you're making first downs. You're keeping the possessions alive.
Yeah.
And that's what they needed from Julio Jones. And if I'm not mistaken, I said if the Falcons are going to win this game, they needed Julio Jones and Matt Ryan to be Matt Ryan and Julio Jones.
You did say that.
And that's what they were. So they're going to need that moving forward if they want to keep advancing.
All right, let's move into the divisional round. We're going to start with the first game. We're just going to go in chronological order here. Saturday at 4:30, we have the Falcons at the Eagles. give me your prediction. What do you like?
I got the Falcons in this game. The
Okay.
Eagles are done. I should say the Eagles went home.
Ooh, that's a knee slapper.
So the Eagles, they got to play. If the Eagles are going to win this game, they got to run. They got Ajayi's going to have the best game of his career, and he's had 200-yard games back to back. So LeGarrette Blount's got to be LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah.
And they have great defense, and they got to play great defense. They're going up against a high-powered offense here.
Yeah, well, I think they have a couple injuries on the defense that in the secondary especially. That their front seven is amazing, so I think they'll be able to stop Atlanta running the ball, and I think they'll be able to get pressure on Matt Ryan. But I think Nick Foles could make a glaring mistake in this game because I think Atlanta's D is severely under the radar. I think this is just as good of a defense as last year, and like I said, Atlanta battle tested for 7 straight weeks. Now that could end up being a bad thing. They haven't had too much rest they've been go. The Eagles, they kind of took week 17 off. They only played Nick Foles for the first quarter and a half or so. They've had 2 weeks to prepare. I could see Nick Foles maybe having not a great game, but a manageable game and manage this team to a win.
It could go the other way too. It could be rusty with they haven't played in a couple weeks.
No, absolutely.
But I think the Falcons if the Falcons are going to win this game, they need to be balanced.
Yeah.
When they're throwing the ball,
absolutely.
Matt Ryan needs to be in MVP form, but you can't just run it. You can't just pass it. You have to be balanced against the Eagles because of their defense.
Yeah, and it's funny. If you look at the Falcons last week, they were actually outgained by the Rams. Over the course of the entire year, they've generally outgained their opponent, and they had the loss go crazy this way because this bad thing happened. But the Rams actually outgained them, but it was the Falcons that got the breaks. And I think, if they can continue to put themselves in these situations where they get the breaks, watch out for the Falcons. I have the Falcons winning by 1 point, 21-20.
I don't have a prediction final score. If I have to take a wild guess right now, I would say it's going to be 17-10 Falcons. Okay. They'll win by a touchdown. But it'll be a close game. But I think the Falcons will take it solely because Wentz is out. As you said, the Eagles are a little banged up on defense. And going back to experience, the Rams are young. Yes, the Eagles are not as young, but they don't really have any playoff experience on that team.
No, I mean, even their head coach, no experience. And we see what Dan Quinn did with the Eagles as their defensive coordinator. Now he's the head coach of the Falcons. That defense looks pretty good.
So I like the Falcons in this game for sure.
All right, moving on to Saturday night, we have the Titans at New England. Let's not waste the people's too much time. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. The Titans need to do a couple things. They need to get pressure on Brady. They need to run the ball effectively, and by effectively I don't mean have 180-yard touchdown. I mean run for 4 yards, run for 5 yards, run for 6. They need to have that. They can't be running for 2 yards a carry and then Derrick Henry bursts one out for a touchdown, 80-yard touchdown. That'll help on the scoreboard, but that's not going to help for the pace of the game. And that's what they kind of need. They need this pace of the game. They need it to be slower. They need to play smash mouth because that's the kind of team they are. But the Titans,
that's how you beat Brady. You got to keep him off the field.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to pressure him. I mean, and if you look at Brady over the past month or so, his numbers are down. Although I do want to say he does have rest now. Brady's always really good off of rest, so I could see him playing well in this game. I just don't see the Titans. I mean, the Titans aren't even a playoff team in my mind. I think the Ravens are better. The Chargers were better. I mean, I think these teams they're just better. So
I have 3 things written down for this game because it was pretty easy to just analyze what's going to happen. You pretty much said it all. Can the Titans run the ball well, and can they finish in the red zone? Can they get a pass rush? If those 3 things can happen, this game is going to be a blowout.
All right. Do you think the Patriots locker room thing is a distraction or / meaningful for this game?
Any other team, yes. Because of the Patriots, no, they're too professional, and I hate it, but it's the facts.
Yeah, no, I typically agree with that. I don't think it has any effect on this game. I could see it having an effect next year,
moving forward.
But I don't think. I mean, we saw the Northeast got hit by a blizzard. People didn't have to go to work. Kids didn't have to go to school. Bill Belichick saying, "Hey, we got practice tomorrow. You better show up for practice."
And he had it outside for a little while.
and it's during their bye week. So I think they're really focused. And whenever you think, oh, the Patriots are gonna flop and this distraction's gonna hurt them, it's generally the opposite. So yeah,
I can tell you what, if the Patriots lose this game,
Yeah, no, there would be a lot of interesting storylines at the. Yeah, no, I don't even think that world exists. Reality doesn't.
No.
Well, who knows? We'll see.
Not yet, at least.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next game. I think this game is the most. I think there's just so many storylines. Obviously, I'm a Jaguars fan, but besides that, I think there's just so many storylines and just so many things that could affect this game that I don't even know where to go with it. Jaguars Steelers. I think this is going to be super, super low scoring. Here's basically, I mean, my take. The Steelers, they really messed up Week 5. They were throwing the ball. They were forcing it. Todd Haley was not calling the right plays. I think this is going to be a super conservative kind of game plan. Run the ball with Le'Veon. The Jaguars defense is not as good against the run. However, since they got Marcel Darius from the Buffalo Bills Week 7, they are 7th in the NFL in rush defense. So that is something to think about as well. They did play really well against Tyrod Taylor and LaShawn McCoy last week. But the Jags, they're not going to be airing it out. They don't trust Bortles at all. Bortles makes a mistake, they're done.
Pittsburgh's defense is pretty stout.
It is stout, but they have been a lot worse since Shazier has been gone. But can Jacksonville take advantage of that? Now, I know a team like New England could take advantage of that. A team like Atlanta could take advantage of that. A team like New Orleans could take advantage of that. But can Jacksonville, can Bortles, really is the question. And
I don't think so.
And I want to tell you this crazy Bortles stat I saw from this year. Bortles passer rating when he is ahead, when he's tied, and when he is trailing. So when the Jacksonville Jaguars are ahead this season, Blake Bortles' passer rating is 103.8. When they are tied, 82.3. So just about average. And when trailing, 66.1. So there is about a 40-point difference in how good of a quarterback he is from when they're trailing, from when they're ahead. Then that just terrifies me because I don't think they're going to get out to an early field goal lead. I think they're going to get out to an early field goal deficit. And they're going to be playing this game down by 3, down by 7, down by 10 the entire game. And I mean, I predicted them to win going into the playoffs here, but I just don't know.
I don't think the Jags have any chance in this game. The only chance they really have is that defense. That defense is so stout. This is going to be the best defense the Steelers play in the playoffs.
Yes.
So, but a couple things to look at. Bortles needs to be way better, as you mentioned. They wasted a turnover from Tyrod. Tyrod does not throw picks.
Yeah.
He actually has the highest ratio in the NFL. I don't know the exact numbers, but he has the highest ratio in the NFL passes per interceptions. He has the most passes thrown with the least amount of interceptions thrown, which is a really good stat as a quarterback. Probably the most important stat if you're looking at it, because turnovers really are key in football. So the Jaguars don't get any points off the Tyrod turnover. If you're going to beat the Steelers, you need to put, if that's Big Ben, you need 7 points on the board off of that turnover. And Big Ben threw 5 interceptions last game. Is that going to happen?
I don't think that's going to happen this game.
He might throw 1, maybe 2 at max.
Yeah.
Jags have a great defense, but
I think he'll throw 1.
The Steelers their experience is going to get them through this game.
And I could see this being a game where they just say, Ben, you're only going to throw the ball 15 times this game. Because if they decide to throw the ball all game, that's the situation where Jacksonville could really take advantage and they could end up putting the beat down on the Steelers again. And also, if they can run the ball, I mean, the Steelers' running defense isn't that good. They're good against the pass. So I think that is a way Jacksonville could win. I mean, I think there's also some interesting behind the scenes stuff with the Steelers, which are huge distractions, which you don't see coming from other teams. Why is this always with the Steelers? The Big Ben Todd Haley thing, not talking to each other, is it significant? I don't know. It feels like they haven't liked each other for a while, and this story is just coming out now. I mean, is it more than it was 3 weeks ago? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think the biggest storyline is Le'Veon Bell may retire.
Yeah, so that's
the Steelers
another thing.
Are stupid to not pay the man. He's the best running back in the league.
Yeah, but it's also like, why is Le'Veon talking about this now? It seems like there's no focus on Jacksonville at all. It's focused on what's my offseason going to look like, how much am I going to get paid? And I totally respect him for wanting to get paid, but why can't you wait till the season's over? Why can't you wait till... I mean, he's had 2 weeks off essentially now. You would think he's going to get 30 carries this game. So
I agree. This story needed to wait to the offseason, and I don't think Le'Veon will be back with the Steelers next year. I think there's too much tension in between.
Wow.
I think that he wants $15 million a year, roughly around.
He ain't getting that.
I don't think that
he's not getting that from
him,
anybody.
But I don't even think the Steelers will give him 12. He will get 12 from another team. He is worth the money, in my opinion. He can catch the ball. He can block. He can run the ball. He's the best running back in the league. You got to pay the man. He's actually most of the reason for your success. If you don't have Le'Veon Bell back there, Antonio Brown isn't as good as Antonio Brown is, because things open up because of Le'Veon Bell. When he's not on the field, they're a totally different team. They were a totally different team in the first 3 games of the season when they were kind of working him in because he missed training camp. So I think that he's the key here, and I don't think he's back with the Steelers next year. I really don't.
Interesting. You brought up Antonio Brown. We actually just got a report. We're recording this right now at 6:45 p.m. We got a report at about 5 p.m. that Antonio Brown is questionable because he has an illness. All right, let's assume that he does not play. How big of a deal is this for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I don't think a big deal for this game because.
Well, it's not going to be moving forward. It would only be because he's going to be. I would say they say he's 100% healthy for this game as far as injury wise. I disagree with that. I think he's more closer to 75. But with this illness, I would assume if Pittsburgh wins, that injury will be closer to 100, and that illness he won't be sick anymore. So this would only be a one-time thing.
I don't think it's going to affect him this week if he doesn't play. Juju Smith-Schuster has really come into his own, and they got Martavis Bryant too. So you could put Martavis Bryant where Brown is, have Jalen Ramsey cover him, and then I know AJ Bouye is good. He's not as good as Ramsey.
He is a Pro Bowler though.
Yeah, but he's not Ramsey.
He's not Ramsey, but he's a Pro Bowler.
And I'll take Juju Smith-Schuster over AJ Bouye coming into the game all the time. Smith-Schuster just has this I don't know what it is about him, but he's fast, he's tough. Nobody lays out Vontaze Perfect like that. The way he's just the aura he has around him.
I just feel like if Antonio Brown misses this game, if Antonio Brown plays, then you have Jalen Ramsey covering him, and you're probably double teaming him. You're coming over the top with Barry Church or something like that. But now, if he doesn't play, you are now having Martavis Bryant. Now he has to face against the number 1 corner on Jacksonville, and now Juju has to face the number 2 corner on Jacksonville, as opposed to Martavis facing Boye and Juju facing Barry Church or Aaron Colvin or whoever it is. I mean, I think that does make a difference for this team, especially when this team is amazing against the pass D. So I think this would be a huge thing because it makes it more. Or it makes it less likely that you're going to be throwing the ball. I think if Antonio Brown's out, if he's there, there's that threat. Even if Antonio Brown doesn't have a big game, there's the threat of him being there, and I think the threat of him not being there, I think that's impactful. If this was a team like if they were playing New England, I don't think this would be a big deal. If they were playing Tennessee, I don't think this would be a big. Or honestly,
strictly because of the Jags defense.
Yeah, I think the only 2 teams that this matters for is Jacksonville or Minnesota.
Yep.
Because the defense is so good.
And you know what? I think this game's really going to come down to Le'Veon Bell's got to touch the ball 30 times. It's as simple as that. If he touches the ball 30 times, regardless of Brown's out there or not, they're winning this game.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have the Steelers winning 16-9. I mean, I think it's going to be super close and super low scoring. I don't see any team breaking out. I could see the Steelers having a lead and Bortles forcing something and that being like a pick 6 or something like that. Or I could see if Jacksonville gets that lead and Roethlisberger has to throw the ball now and he messes up somehow and something like that happen. I could see that. But other than that, I think this game is going to be really low scoring. I think it's going to be a fast game that's grinded out by both teams.
I'll go 10-9 Steelers.
Okay. All right. Final game of the weekend, 4:30 Sunday. Saints and Vikings should be a doozy.
I can't wait.
Yeah, so before last week, I thought that this matchup would happen, and I had New Orleans winning and going to the NFC Championship game. But after seeing the last 2 weeks of the New Orleans Saints, I think I like Minnesota in this game. I don't think Drew Brees is going to have a lot of time to work with in this game. I think it's going to be a lot of Minnesota running the ball, a lot of taking time off the clock. And because over the past 2 weeks, New Orleans has given up 60% of third downs. They cannot get off the field. They have too many injuries on defense. That defense that we were talking about a few weeks ago, not the same anymore because of all the injuries. So while I originally had New Orleans winning this game, I think Keenum will be fine. And that's really my only concern with the Vikings, Case Keenum, but I think he'll be fine because he is at home. And I think that home field advantage is absolutely insane. So I don't have anything else, but I like the Vikings 26-20.
The reason I'm going Saints still, I actually had the Saints playing the Eagles, and I had the Rams playing the Vikings because I chose the Rams. Yep. So they flip-flop because of that win by the Falcons. I'm still going with the Saints. Reason B, experience.
Okay.
Drew Brees versus Case Keenum. Case Keenum has never started a playoff game in his career.
And Sean Payton versus Mike Zimmer. Yeah. Mike Zimmer hasn't been, I saw this today, Mike Zimmer hasn't had a playoff win since he was some, offensive coach, sideline coach or whatever, with the Dallas Cowboys back in 1996.
Yeah, I was going to say it's got to be a while because he was on the Bengals before
this.
They didn't. The Bengals haven't won anything in a while.
Bengals don't win playoff games.
No, they don't. I don't know how Marvin Lewis still has a job either.
Dude,
but,
oh my God. That guy has got more job security than anybody I've ever known in my life.
He's like a double cat. He's got 18 lives. But can the Vikings continue the success with the pressure of now? Nobody thought that they were going to be here at this moment.
Yeah.
Can they? There's a ton of pressure on them. They can be the first team to play in a Super Bowl in their own stadium. That's a lot of pressure in itself.
Are the bright lights gonna affect them?
Yeah, and I think it might. I think that this is going to be a building block for them. And I don't think Case Keenum will be back next year, but I think it's a building block for him as well as the Vikings. I'm rolling with the Saints here. Saints, I think, are just too good.
Okay.
Drew Brees he looks. I know that he's not overall, but he looks better than Tom Brady right now. He looks better than Aaron Rodgers right now. He's lighting up the league, and he's 39.
Yeah, he's had an incredibly efficient year, and having that two-headed monster really helps him. I mean, the offense on the Saints. The thing that is interesting with the Saints is when they're facing a team like Carolina that has a good run defense, New Orleans is able to throw the ball. When they're facing a team that has a good pass defense, I want to say Atlanta has a good pass defense, they're able to run the ball. But they're playing the Vikings. They have a good run defense and a good pass defense. I want to see what the Saints come up with, what kind of trickery, what kind of scheme comes out here for them to have success. Because if they're going to have success in this game, they can't be giving generic looks to the Vikings. The Vikings are going to feast up all of that.
It's going to come down to Drew Brees, Case Keenum, and Sean Payton, Mike Zimmer. Who is more creative and who's going to get the ball? Who's going to get the job done with the ball in their hands? And I'm going to roll with the vets here and the team that has more experience. And the Vikings are like the Rams to me. They're not going anywhere. They have a young team. They've got a stout team. The Saints are kind of at the edge of their run. Sean Payton's not going to be there too much longer.
Depending on what Brees.
Well, Brees, I don't see him playing as long as Brady's going to play. Brady will probably play until he's 45, like he says. I think Drew Brees has maybe a couple of years left. He's not as physically built as Brady. He's not as tall. And you know what? His body isn't built to play into his late 40s or his mid 40s. Brady takes care of his body. I'm sure Drew Brees does too, but I don't think anybody takes care of their body to the extent of James Harrison and Tom Brady.
I agree with that. You have anything else on this game?
I do not. I'm going to say the Saints are going to win this game. I think all games are going to be low scoring this weekend, as we've kind of gone over. I'm going to say this one ends 21-18 Saints.
Okay, and this is the only game that we disagree on. Yep. Okay. All right. Moving on to the final topic that we have in the NFL. It was recently leaked that Kirk Cousins, Redskins quarterback Kirk Cousins, would be okay playing for the Cleveland Browns next season. James, what are your initial reaction to this?
On top of that, the Cleveland Browns are open to trading for Alex Smith.
Okay.
So I think Kirk Cousins is a better fit. Alex Smith's a little bit older, but say Kirk Cousins goes there. How long does Big Ben have left? Maybe 3-4 years max.
Yeah.
He gets beat up way too much to play into his 40s. I don't think Antonio Brown will be there long term. I think after this contract, he's going to go. I think, like I said earlier...
Yeah, Steelers never pay for receivers.
No, and I think Le'Veon Bell's going to go too. I think that the Steelers are on the downside or the downfall soon.
Very interesting.
And the Browns have a young team. They have a good team. They're missing a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, we saw their stats throughout the whole year, and I think they were top 13 in defensive in defensive statistics.
They
on
shouldn't.
top,
They shouldn't have been 0-16.
No.
They're not as bad as the 08 Lions. And I think if Kirk Cousins is on this team with Josh Gordon back, I think that this team could be a force to be reckoned with.
And Njoku and Crowell and Duke Johnson, like they have some weapons.
On top of that, they have the first overall pick.
Exactly.
I mean, if you get Kirk Cousins, you're going to trade that. You're going to get so many more picks out of that. You're going to.
Well, I wouldn't go. I would just take the quarterback just in case. Give Kirk Cousins the backup just in case something happens, because Cleveland Browns have passed up on too many quarterbacks. I think you got to take him no matter what. You got to have some sort of backup in place. Deshaun Kaiser is not a worthy backup.
I'm going to go the free agent route with that as well. If I have the first overall pick, I'm not spending it on a stud QB. If I have Kirk Cousins, I think he's proven himself. I'm not also going Saquon Barkley either. I may trade down into like the 4 or 5 spot. I know I'm a Jets fan, and I'm going to say this, that if the Browns do get Kirk Cousins, the Jets have said they're open to trading up for a quarterback. Maybe they trade up into the 1 slot because there's only 3, and the Broncos, Giants, and Browns.
The Jets are 6th,
and the Broncos are 5th. The Giants are 2, and the Browns are 1, and all 3 teams need quarterbacks. So they'd kind of be beat out of a quarterback. If they stay at 6, they'd have to move up. So that's an option. But they're going to accumulate picks. And then say you go down at pick 4, you can get a Minkah Fitzpatrick who can be the stud.
That's what I'm thinking. Fitzpatrick to replace Joe Hayden.
So and there you can really solidify your team this offseason, and the Browns could be the top of the AFC North for years to come if this happens. I'm telling you.
That would be that's mind-boggling to me. I don't think Le'Veon's going to leave the Steelers. I do think Ben's going to be gone soon, but if the Cleveland Browns can get a quarterback, I don't think they're in the bottom of the barrel anymore. I think if that moves to Cincinnati, maybe Baltimore. But having a quarterback really changes everything. And we've talked about they have weapons on their team. It's just Kaiser is historically bad.
I would not be surprised 3 years from now the AFC North looks like Cleveland top, Cincinnati second, Baltimore third, and Pittsburgh fourth. I would not be surprised.
That would be absolutely insane if you
pretty much the exact opposite of what it looks like this year: Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincy, Cleveland.
All right. Tell us what you think. Coming up next, we're talking NHL. We're talking the Las Vegas Golden Knights. You're listening to BTH.
You're listening to Between the Hash Marks with James Koklak and Sean McCabe, brought to you by an unknown sponsor we don't have yet. Now back to the show.
And we're back, and we're going to talk about my favorite sport. Finally, we just had a bunch of NFL talk, and I love talking about the NFL. The NFL is a 1B for me, but I am a hockey guy. I grew up playing hockey all my life. I actually played on a team with a Stanley Cup champion now. His brother went 2nd overall in the draft to the Flyers back in 07, right behind Patrick Kane. So I'm Russian, I'm Canadian. I mean, I'm American. 3 greatest hockey countries there are. I have hockey in my blood, so I am so excited to talk about puck. And my favorite team, they're getting off their 5-day break tonight. So tomorrow they come back and they're playing, and I can't wait. But we're going to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights today. And I just want to mention something really quickly before we go into really what we want to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights, is that the United States Army has filed a trademark claim against the Vegas Golden Knights because the Army has a parachute team name, the Golden Knights. Same colors, same everything. So, but the argument the Vegas Golden Knights have is that you have the Arizona Cardinals, you have the St. Louis Cardinals, you have the New York Rangers, you have the Texas Rangers.
Absolutely.
So there are multiple team names that are
the Giants,
the Giants, and the Giants. You have the Winnipeg Jets and the New York Jets.
Exactly.
So,
but if they're forced to change their name, I heard one of the options is the Sand Knights. That sounds pretty cool to me.
Well, they originally wanted to go Black Knights, but they already have the Black Hawks, so they kind of wanted to go. The league wanted them to go elsewhere. The team name that they was on the list, it was in the final 3. They were the Silver Knights, the Golden Knights, and the last one I'm about to mention, which was my favorite, was the Desert Knights.
That's cool too.
So they're in the desert. They went with Golden because Las Vegas is the gold capital of America, and also kind of everything's kind of gold in Las Vegas. Just everything's sandy and gold, and you know. So, but I like the Desert Knights better. That's the name I was kind of hoping they'd take. But let's go really into what we're going to talk about here. They're an expansion franchise. Now, how often do expansion franchises do well?
Never.
Let me give you a stat here. The Florida Panthers, back in 1993-94, their first season in the NHL as a franchise, they were an expansion franchise. They went 33, 34, and 17, 83 points, and that's the best expansion franchise of all time in the NHL until the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, just hold on to that 33 wins and 83 points.
Okay.
Right now, as we speak, the Vegas Golden Knights are in first place in the Pacific Division, first place in the Western Conference, second place in the entire NHL behind the 13 straight week Power Division champ, Tampa Bay Lightning, or Power Rankings champ, I should say. They are 29, 10, and 2.
Wow.
So
How many points is that?
That is 60 points. It's 23 less points already than Florida had
And they
for
still got half a
82
season.
games. Yeah, half a season left. Florida had 33 wins, the best season as an inauguration season for an NHL team. They already had 29 right now. This is going to cool off. They're 18-2-1 at home. I think that they have a great home crowd. I think everybody's excited to have hockey in Vegas, but this is definitely going to cool off. As a hockey guy, I know this because there's so much competition, and playoff hockey is different than regular hockey, and the Vegas Golden Knights, unless they have a huge collapse, are going to make the playoffs. But mark my words, you heard it here first. I guarantee you they get swept because they don't have experience, and I think they're riding a high right now, and the high is going to cool off when the playoffs hit. There's so many
Swept as in you don't think they're going to win a single playoff game?
No, not this year. Nope.
Okay.
And Flower, he's been good. That's his nickname, Marc-Andre Fleury. He's 9-2-1 this year, a 1.73 goals against average, 945 save percentage. Just for people who don't understand that, basically his save percentage is 945. He is saving 94.5% of his shots. Out of 1,000 shots, he has 945 saves. That is unheard of. A good goals against average is in between the 910 and 930 range. You see 940. I mean, you're reaching territories that we don't see very often. But there's only one team in all four major sports who have made the playoffs year one. The Chicago Bulls in 1966, 1967.
So what do you think that they should do? Should they keep? I mean, you don't think they're going to have this success going into the postseason? You don't think this is a Stanley Cup potential team? Should they make trades? Should they? What should they do? Should they just continue going on?
They should ride the high for now. Enjoy it while you have it.
The trade deadline is mid-February?
Yes, mid-February, so they got some time. And a couple players that I do think will be dealt is James Neal. He's got 18 goals on the year, 29 points. He is a goal scorer. He's in his mid-30s, though. He's not part of their future. They can fetch a first-round pick for him right now, or they can fetch some young talent, and you're building for the future. Everybody thought they'd be 31st in the league this year, including myself. And so I do believe that James Neal will be dealt. Also, David Perron, I think he will be dealt. He's got 25 assists on the year. Anybody who can pass the puck that well, he's got potential. He's also in his mid-30s, but he's been on great teams. He's been on the Penguins. He's been on the Blues. He's been on good teams. So he's got a lot of experience, especially in playoffs. Both of those players are going to go to contending teams, I believe, in mid-February at the trade deadline. And they're going to bring back picks and talent, and they're going to continue to stockpile as they've done over the course of the offseason that we just had. And
you think that's the wisest decision for the Golden Knights going forward?
Yes, absolutely, because in hockey, you need a couple things to win. Most importantly, you need goaltending. Marc-Andre Fleury is a great goalie, but he is in his 30s now. So Malcolm Subban, he's their backup goalie right now. He's 13-11-2 because Marc-Andre Fleury was hurt. But here's the difference in their numbers, okay? So as I was saying, Subban has a pretty good goals against average, but his save percentage is a .918. So that's a pretty good save percentage, but you got to think about it this way.
It's a huge drop-off.
Yeah, it's a pretty big drop-off between the two. And Subban was a first-round pick as a goalie, so he's got a lot of potential, and he's young. But goalies are kind of like quarterbacks, so you need to break them in. They really need training on the game, because the game speed in the college and pros are totally different. Same thing with junior hockey and pro hockey, totally different speeds. So it's really hard for a young goalie to come in. Goalies kind of mature later, but they last later as well. So goalies can play until they're 40, where players really will kind of dip their play at 35. But I think that those two players are going to be dealt. But, I mean, Jonathan Mastersault, 16 goals, 40 points on the year. He's leading the team with 40 points. He's young. They got him from the Florida Panthers, our hometown Florida Panthers, who I'm definitely not a fan of. New Jersey Devils all day. And Eric Haula from the Minnesota Wild. He's got 15 goals on the year, 28 points. I mean, it's not outstanding, but they got 4 players with 15-plus goals on the year. That's pretty good. You need goal scoring to win, so...
Yeah, see, I have to disagree with you that they should just trade all these players away. I understand wanting to get young talent, and I think if they trade away James Neal, I think if they trade him away, they will get something good back for him. But if they trade all of these pieces that they picked up through free agency and through the expansion draft, I do not think that they will have this kind of success where, like, I mean, the fact that they are having so many fans come to the game, that there's a real loyalty to this team already. There's an excitement about this team, and getting rid of the good players really just hinders all of that. I know as a Boston Bruins fan, there was a stretch before they won their title in 2011 where they would get a good player and then they would send him away, and I knew many people in Boston were just pissed off about it, and Boston really...
They still do it.
Yeah, they still do it now. I mean, look at Sagan.
Tyler Sagan,
yeah.
top 5 player,
yeah,
top 5 offensive player.
Yeah, it's frustrating to watch that. I mean, the Bruins have still had success after getting rid of Sagan. They've still been in the playoffs, sort of, but that kind of mentality, if you treat your fans like that, they will not invest in you. And the fact that right now they have the 17th highest attendance, I think that goes a long way. And if they trade away all their good players, they won't win the games that they've been winning now. And yeah, it's not thinking about next year or the year after that, but having these players and making a run, that really does something to the fan base, and people will go to the games, and people, I understand getting rid of 1 or 2, but don't get rid of all of these players because you're afraid you're going to miss out on them, and you need to get the cheaper talent on your team. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me, and they have the good goalie.
Well, I just think that those 2 specific players we traded, William Karlsson, he's young, he's got 22 goals on the season and 36 points, so he's right behind Massachusetts. So James Neal and David Perron are the only 2 players I think will be dealt at the trade deadline.
Okay.
But just to throw this out there, the Panthers did pretty well for their first season. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals 3 years after their first year. So they came in 93, they went to the finals in 96. What have they done since then? Because they kept players, because they didn't go down the route that I'm talking about, because they wanted the success early. And I think that if the fans are that loyal, they will stay loyal, showing, all right, look, James Neal is not part of our future. David Perron is not part of our future. Our future is in the young core that we have, plus drafts, upcoming drafts, young free agents that they're going to sign. And if they're loyal, they need to stay loyal, show with knowing that they're doing this to better the franchise as a future, that this isn't about this year, this is about being successful over time. And I know I'm a Devils fan, so it's going to sound homerish, but just an example. They came into New Jersey in 1982. They didn't make the playoffs until 1988, okay? Then Lou Lamoriello was hired in 1987. They made the playoffs in 88. Then they started to build a culture. What did that culture do? It resulted in, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's 17 straight playoff appearances and 22 playoff appearances in 35 years of being in the NHL. And that's because they set a culture. That's because they did it the right way, and they didn't play for the season 1 or season 2. They played for season 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and counting. And I think the Vegas Golden Knights need to do that. And you know what? It's just the smartest move for me, and I understand you keep these players, you're going to be pretty good this year, but playoff comes, it's just a totally different atmosphere. Playoff hockey, I know every sport is different in the playoffs, but there's just something about the Stanley Cup playoffs. You said it earlier. You don't watch regular season hockey, but when it comes down to playoff hockey, it's a totally different animal.
Absolutely.
And I think that Vegas will be overwhelmed in that situation, and that's why I think that they're going to trade these players away, because I think Vegas knows. I think their general manager...
Yeah, they have a good general manager.
George McPhee, he was the general manager of the Washington Capitals. Gerard Gallant, every Florida Panthers fan should be up in arms, because he is a fabulous coach. Look what he's doing with Golden Knights, and he got fired from the Florida Panthers. So that was a terrible firing. Everybody thought it was a terrible firing, but that's why the Florida Panthers haven't won anything yet. Yeah. So, but okay, they need to build for the future.
I want to just ask you a question here. I know you love your crab rangoons.
Oh, I love them. I had some last night, actually.
All right, so we need to have a little friendly wager here with this. You say the Vegas Golden Knights, they're not going to win a single playoff game.
No,
not one. They're going to make the playoffs and lose 4
straight. Yes.
Okay, we're going to make a bet here. and it's going to be if the Vegas Golden Knights make the playoffs. They have to make the playoffs. I'm saying they will win one game, and if they don't, then you will win some crab rangoons from me. If they do, I haven't thought of what I want yet that's of equal value, but we will discuss that, update the public as that goes on. But there's got to be something here because if they make the playoffs, I don't see them getting swept at all. Because if they make the playoffs, because if they trade away all these players, I don't think they'll be making the playoffs, even though they're so far ahead right now. But I think they will make the playoffs. I don't think they'll trade all these players away. So
Right now, as we stand right now, Vegas would play Minnesota in the playoffs. Okay. Minnesota's going to wipe the doors off them. They've got a stacked team. Okay. They've got talent. Ryan Suter's a top 5 defenseman in the game. Zach Parise's finally back from back surgery. I mean, he's a difference maker in the game. I did not want him to leave as a Devil. He was our captain.
I'm saying one game, man. I'm not saying an entire series. I'm saying I don't think any team will get swept in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I don't think. How many times have you seen in hockey where the 8 seed comes back down 3-0 and they don't win the series, but they make it a series?
The Kings won 4 in a row against the Sharks as the 8th seed.
Exactly.
They beat the Devils in the 2012 Stanley Cup.
Exactly.
Nashville, 16th seed, 8th seed in the West last year.
Exactly.
Went to the Stanley Cup final. But that's to my point. Right now, Minnesota's the 8th seed.
Yeah,
I think they would.
And I'm saying they would. All I'm saying is I don't think.
So you're thinking 5. I'm saying in 4, you're thinking in 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I respect that. I mean, they do have a good team, but it's just such a different animal.
All right, you down to make this bet?
I am because I'm that confident that the Vegas Golden Knights will get swept in the first round of the playoffs this year. But I have to give my hats off to them. They got 27 wins in regulation or overtime. That is super impressive. Tampa Bay Lightning, they're leading the league with 65 points, so it's 5 more points. And in hockey, just very quickly, let me explain it. A win is 2 points, and a loss is 0, and an overtime loss is 1 point, and that's why they have a point. Tampa Bay has 31 wins, but they only have 29 wins in regulation or overtime. They have 65 points, only 2 more wins in regulation or overtime than Vegas, and Tampa Bay is cream of the crop right now. So.
It's funny when you say more than Vegas, I'm thinking like, against the spread or against the bookie or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like, that's the actual team.
It sounds weird, I know. I hate to let me bring it up. Columbus, 45 games played this year. They only have 20 wins in regulation or overtime, and they've got 53 points on the year. So 7 less points. That's 3 wins and 1 overtime loss in points, and they have 7 less regulation or overtime wins. So that shows you that Vegas is doing really well, but the playoffs is going to be a different story, but props to them. I just love talking hockey. I can go for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, but we don't have hours, and I'm pretty hungry, so I'm going to wrap it up here. We had a great show today. I love talking about college football, NFL football, hockey. We got some Lonzo Ball up in here. We all can say, screw you, LeVar Ball. Nobody likes you. And I'm signing off here on BTH. See you later. Peace.